So you don't want to start with something short. I don't really have any 8 around here, apparently. That's fine. And this is still maybe a little shorter, so you could almost go like, you know, a third longer or so that you have stuff to hold on the ends. But what you're going to find is, like, as you're doing this technique, you're going to start to run out of, you're going to start to become asymmetrical a little bit more and a little bit more. So like if you're doing anything in succession, it's all going to respond to the thing next to it. So if you start getting off, you're probably better cutting your losses than, like, especially if you get way off the center of the axis, than to just keep going and making it worse and worse and worse each one you go. So I would suggest maybe it might not be a bad idea to start with something a little bit shorter and try, you know, you can still get in this space maybe like 5 to 10 of them. So the whole trick is I'm going to go into my center flame guide. I'm going to soak my rod until it gets liquid, and then I'm going to come up to my top flame guide, and that's when I'm going to start pushing in. And when I isolate the heat to the top flame guide, it's going to just keep allowing me to gather the disc. It's just a simple move. Heat in the center, get it liquid, come up to your top of your flame guide and press into the center. Don't try to press into the center like Flash would, Flash Gordon, or whoever I was the other day. Don't use your super power strength. Use your subtle passing grandma the candy dish kind of strength. Real gentle, real subtle. Okay? Because when it's liquid, it's going to respond really quickly, and if you make that move and your hands don't know exactly where that center axis is, you're going to shift that axis and everything is going to get off center. So you just want to real, like, I think of a nudge, you know, just barely just tap, tap, tap-a-roo. Okay, so okay, here's what it looks like. I'm in kind of a neutral flame setting. Drop into my center. When I start to feel it get a little bit loose, loosey-goosey, then I'll come up. I'm not pushing yet. I'm up on my center. Now I'm kind of easing in that I can see I got a little football. And then the edges of the widest parts of that ball will start to become more wide, because they're the only parts that are dancing in the flame right now. And then you can just come out, let it cool. And distance is important as you start to build these up. So don't get too close to the one next to it. Let's find out. Because like I was doing this exercise with Corey last week, and you can see at the beginning my spacing was pretty jacked. And then I started to figure it out as I was going. So you'll, you know, bring that same kind of awareness as you're doing this. You're going to be like, oh, I was too close, I was too hot, it was whatever. Don't just kind of go on autopilot. Pay attention. So right now I'm in my center flame guide. My splash is, you can see, going to close to where the previous Maria was, but it's not touching it. I'm probably like a 1/4 inch off of the previous Maria. Let's see how this does. Coming up to my top flame guide. And just keep the rotation so it sets up. And these are like, you know, they're super functional and scientific, but they're also super decorative and artistic. You know, just a little ring here, ring there, and people are quickly wowed. And if you can, you know, try to be as consistent as possible. So come in from the previous Maria at the same distance as the one prior if it was good, which this is pretty good. So see how it's leaving me that same 1/4 inch? That I'm allowing my splash the distance away from the previous Maria. It's holding on to that distance for me. It's keeping it. Just keeping the edge of the wheel of the Maria in the top flame guide. Okay. Should we see it again, or?
Yeah,
One more time? Okay. So, distance from my one prior is basically like, let's see, my splash, look at how small my flame is, so my splash isn't really very significant. So it's edging, it's pretty much a 1/4 inch. And as soon as that loosens up and becomes a liquid ball, or a liquid, liquid the width of where my flame was blasting in my center flame guide, then I start coming up. I start edging in, nudging in, and once that nudge starts to form a sphere, then I start letting the edge of the sphere touch the top of my flame guide and just slowly, continuously edging, edging, edging until I get to the diameter of the one prior. If you can make them that consistent, that would be impressive to me. And that's good for your own hand skills, that you can be that accurate, right?